Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Esty Besties podcast. We have a extra special guest today, Miss Alexandra Pettinaro.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Brittany.
Hello. We are really excited to be here. It is a Friday morning per usual. It is very nice and crisp and chilly outside, but happy to be here overall. This episode is going to be called Energy and Connection. So I'll let your mind wander with where you think that that's going to go for now. I'm going to let Alex give you guys a little intro about herself and what she is here to talk about today.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in front of my sound bath people right now. For those that don't know me, my name is Alexandra. Thank you for being with us today. I am a sound healer. Beyond that, I am really just an intuitive healer in general. So what does that mean? That means that I am a little bit witchy, if you will. So I have my own business called Bath House, and there we do sound bath meditations, we do yoga, we have facials, a lot of holistic stuff. We even have an assisted stretch person, people that do Reiki, blah, 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 an incredible oracle reader, really just cool stuff that isn't very big in this area at all. So it's cool to kind of mark the floor in a way and just kind of see where our roots grow. But it's crazy. Like a few years ago, I was not doing this at all. Bryn knows me very well. I have crazy ADHD. I kind of always have, very hyperactive. So it's weird that I am now running guided meditations and teaching people how to like calm down their nervous system. So I feel like a complete reversal, but it's been great. Now I can't imagine not doing it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I definitely have to put out there, like, one thing about Alex is she's a hustler. She will try anything, she will try anything, period. But no, she'll try anything and give it like a fair shot. And she's gone into like different lanes, and she is like so good at everything she does, which I think is super interesting character trait to have. Like, you're just good at everything you do, but I think that is kind of what made it hard for you to find like what is my lane, because you're capable of doing like so many different things. But I think with trying different things, it helped you narrow down like, oh no, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I've never seen you, like, I feel like you're so aligned with like what you're meant to be doing. And I'm just so excited for you, for Bath House. Like, her business, you guys, if anyone is in Delaware, I feel like majority of people that are listening are probably in Delaware. Definitely go to the Bath House. So many ranges of services. Like, I don't even want to call them services because, you know,
it's an experience.
It's just an experience.
Each one is an experience. Even our yoga classes are meant to be an experience, to be lived, to be felt, to be moved, not just coming into a random room and you're like, great, I'm going to go sit on this mat and stretch, I guess. Like, it's all encompassing. We really have everything tailored to your nervous system, which is cool.
Yeah, and like she said, that's not really super popular, especially in this area. Like, I think if you go to California, major cities, like, they're going to have way more representation of this type of stuff. Delaware, very behind.
But not anymore.
Yeah, it's getting so much better. Yeah. It's getting so much better. So we'll get into that a little bit, and in the future of this episode, we'll talk about some business advancements and stuff like that. But for right now, I want to ask you, spirituality, wellness, it's all together. I feel like the term spirituality gets thrown around in like many different ways. Some people hear the word spirituality, they think like religion, like like even like Christians can say they're spiritual and things like that. But the overall word to us is like more fluid and over, like, it's like an umbrella to everything.
Absolutely.
So spirituality, first, I want you to kind of give what spirituality and wellness means to you, like definition wise, like what does that mean to you first? And then how did you kind of explain like how you got here, how you got into this stuff, how you found your way? You don't have to go too into depth if you want to, because I know everyone's spiritual journey is like very different, but kind of, what does it mean to you and how did you get here?
Yeah. So spirituality for me, I think, is a pretty like personal thing. I think with many people it is. I'm a polytheist, so I believe in like multiple deities, multiple gods. I'm very like old world, old school when it comes to that stuff. How did I get into that in particular? Because I was raised Catholic. I had a very, very strict Catholic family. We went to church. I did Sunday school. I'm confirmed. We did the whole thing. I really didn't start getting into this stuff until college. I didn't really buy into the whole Catholic one God, male God thing. I always had questions, but it was kind of nice. At least I remember like the nuns back in the day and being like, it's okay to question. And I was like, oh, great. Well, I have questions.
Thank you, nun.
Yeah. So I felt at least like okay enough where I wasn't scared to question, that I feel like some people definitely have that experience where they're like, this is the only way. So at least in that sense, I was able to explore a little bit more, but I really didn't fall into my spiritual practice until college and then beyond. College, I started dabbling a little bit. I started, you learn more things, you experience more. And it just kind of led down to this road of like, I'm actually really aligned with nature and I'm very seasonal. So as most of us are seasonal, but I feel like to a point, I'm definitely like really hardcore sleeper in the winter. I'm come alive in the summertime. And I love the changeover seasons of just kind of like shedding the skin in a way.
And that is something really interesting with specifically like more pagan religions is they go by a whole different wheel of the year. So it's super interesting too, because once you learn that, you kind of realize that like that's what feels more natural actually, specifically what you're saying about like January, this time of the year for like sleeping, hibernation.
Definitely.
Like it makes sense.
It makes so much sense. And really like as I continue like growing in this like spiritual practice, I notice that like everything is just stolen basically, like
nothing is original in this entire world.
No. So like even the like again, not to like hate on Catholics or anything, that's not what this is about, just like my experiences, like how they've lined up, like all of like my wheel that I follow is very similar to the Catholic one, and it's like, well, that's because they just took everything from the old school like pagans.
Ooh, we should do like an episode where we break down the history of like
really
all
cool.
that, like go back to the dawn of time.
I love that. So I'm just very like old world when it comes to that stuff. I'll use that word a lot, just because that's kind of like how I feel. But it really deepened after college. I started getting more into practicing witchcraft, started to identify more as a witch, I guess you could say. And really all that means, most people are like, are you a good witch or are you a bad witch? And like,
I was just about to ask you what, for the listeners, like what does being a witch mean to you? Because I think people are so intimidated by that term. But like for me, I'm like, oh, I love it. Like I love when people identify as witches. But what does that mean for anyone that's listening that might be like, oh my God, this girl hates Catholicism and she's a witch?
Don't be scared.
What does it mean to you?
It's not like that at all. Essentially, all that means is I am honing my own power, my power that resides in each and every single one of us. We each have our own individual power, and it's all about unlocking that. And I will use rituals, spells, time of the month, the moon phase, nature around me to manifest those spells and those rituals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really what being a witch to me is like. And I utilize nature a lot in that, and connecting with nature a lot in that, because we are all connected. Actually, I was talking to Austin about this the other day.
Austin's my brother, by the way.
Austin's our brother.
Our brother.
We are sisters from different misters.
But if you met the misters, you might think they're one and the same.
Very similar. But we were chatting the other day, and he was telling me that on one of his recent trips, he saw a bunch of like dolphins like right off the boat. And he said that, the dolphins were like following the boat, and they rolled over and looked at him like right in the eye.
Stop.
And I had also had I'm like getting chills, like also had a very similar experience with marine animals in general, on a dive trip that I did, looking at sharks, like all these baby sharks were like around us. It was so cool. And I said to him, I said, did you feel that connection when that they looked at you? And he said, yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
It's just like, you know, we all need that experience. We all need that reminder, I think, that we are all connected, and it's one for all and all for one. So yeah, I thought it was super interesting that he shared that. And that's just, again, a little tidbit of that's magic in itself, I think. And I think another good tidbit to put in is there is no right or wrong way. I always say this in my meditations too. You can meditate however you want. You can calm your nervous system basically however you want. Of course, we have tips and tricks to like help you do so. But your spiritual practice, whatever that is yours. It's nobody else's. For so long, especially when I first started getting into witchcraft, there was a lot of, you can't do it that way. That doesn't work. You can't put those two crystals together. They're going to cancel each other out. Nobody knows shit, okay?
That's true.
Nobody knows anything better than you do. We don't even know why we're here. We literally live on a floating rock in space. Nothing makes sense, okay? So,
and it's not meant to a lot of the time.
No, it's not. So if it feels right for you, I encourage you to follow that. And that is what being a witch is to me. I'm following what feels good for me and what feels powerful and just going with it.
And it's not about like harming anyone else or putting bad towards anyone else. That's what people say, like good witch versus bad witch. A lot of people, they hear witch and they're like, oh my God, she's going to cast a spell on me and I'm going to turn into a frog. It's like, relax.
Yeah, none of the Shrek stuff going on in here.
It's not that serious. And once you meet, when you meet and are aligned with like true witches, they're like the nicest, most kind, compassionate group of people. And it's because it's all surrounding with oneness, nature,
always,
just the elements, like things that are just so non-harmful. So I have like a really sensitive frustration with people that are like super judgy. And to each their own. I'm not sitting here. And it is fear. I'm not sitting here like putting anyone else down for being devout. Anything, any religion. I would never put someone down for it, but those people constantly put us down for what we believe in, and ours is, in my opinion, confidently the least harmful religion or practice.
Absolutely.
So whatever, I could go on a whole tangent about that.
We'll talk about that the whole time.
Literally. But that's a perfect explanation. I think you hit it nail on the head. And like you said, to everyone it's going to be different. So like what it means to you, what it means to me happen to be very similar. But to a listener, like whatever you believe in, I am happy that you believe in something. That's all. That's where I leave it.
100%.
Whatever you believe in, just make sure the intention is good. It's not harmful to you or others, and just go with it. And somebody that is a devout religion, let's say devout Catholic, devout Christian is just the easiest example to use. Like, you can do these practices without blurring the lines between your religion. Like, I know certain
very good note,
Christianity and Catholicism, like the viewpoints a lot of the time are like anything that God didn't create is like a sin or whatever. I don't know how they word it. I don't want to like botch it and get whatever. But it's like, you don't have to be like, I'm a witch to go to a sound bath. Correct. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. There's no sound bath, and meditation and all of this is very separate from this like spiritual practice.
For sure.
We've just happened to like, we're just talking about both. Because I'm a pretty spiritual person. So no, I have gotten that question a couple times. They're like, well, I'm Catholic, can I still come to bathhouse? And I'm like, of course you can.
Of course.
Yes, everybody is welcome. It is not like that at all. I'm practicing my magic too when I'm playing the sound bowls. It is never about religious stuff. It's about learning different techniques to calm the nervous system. Nothing to do with religion, nothing really even to do with spirituality. I'm just doing my own personal thing when I'm playing the bowls. But nobody knows about that except for me.
Exactly.
And now you.
And now you. That broke it down perfectly. Because I feel like the lines do get blurred a little bit with that. And it can be a little bit of like a slippery slope of conversation, but I feel like you just knocked it down perfectly. So do you feel like where you are right now in your spiritual journey, wellness journey, do you feel like, I'm assuming you do, but I'm asking you because I want to hear your answer.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you're the most connected, the most like happy with yourself, the most confident? Like, do you feel like that helps with your kind of oneness journey, like as a whole, as a person? Do you feel like it's like synonymous?
Definitely. I think that I've always had this air of like confidence about myself. Whenever people meet me, they feel a little intimidated a lot of the time. This is just, again, feedback I've gotten from over the years. I'm a little intimidating just because I feel very sure in my skin. I think that that is something that I was kind of born with, to be honest. Of course, I struggle with insecurities and all of that stuff, but being aligned with my spiritual practice does make me feel more powerful and more connected with myself, in addition to more of the wellness practices also makes me feel much more connected because I know what's going on in my body. If my stomach hurts, I'm like, okay, why does my stomach hurt? Like, you know, we're kind of breaking down the problem so we can fix it and I can feel better. Same thing with like headaches. Like, okay, why would I have a headache right now? Like, kind of what's going on. It's being more in touch with the self that helps me feel like my best self. Yeah.
And that goes back to it all being connected. Holistic, I know you guys have heard me say this before, holistic is about treating the body as a whole and being able to understand it as a unit and how everything flows through each other. Like she's saying, why do I have a headache? Is it because of XYZ? And that's something really cool. Something I study specifically is like more Chinese medicine based, more just like ancient Eastern, Eastern medicine, I should say. And once I kind of dove into that, I realized it all just makes so much sense. And you may read it and be like, what the fuck are these people talking about right now? But again, it's what works for you. And if I have a headache and if I have two options, I can either take an Advil or I can look internally and try to figure out what is happening, what is imbalance, whatever. Either way is fine. Either way solves the headache.
Totally.
But one, in my opinion, is going to work for me better than the other. And you know what I mean? It's just,
definitely.
There's no right from wrong in this situation.
But I think being more connected with your body is always the better way to go.
For sure.
Because I think so many of us don't live in the present moment because it's challenging to do. But once we start to unlock that, you start to get much more feedback from the body, from the self, from the mind, your thoughts, all of these things. Even emotions that come up, you're kind of like, oh, why am I feeling that way? I just walked into Bed Bath & Beyond and I like broke into tears. Like, why is that happening? You know, like silly example, but
no, perfect example actually. Because that happens to people all the time. And then they think to themselves like, I'm the problem. Or it's so true. It's so true. So I think being self-aware is a gift and a curse. I would rather have the gift, but it is really like, it sucks sometimes to be so self-aware and being able to walk into Bed Bath & Beyond, have that panic attack and go to the car and literally go through the trauma of what caused that. Like, I will run through the whole thing and process it. That is way more work than it is to just suppress it, shove it down.
100%.
But then like, how much better do you feel after that you understand it? And then maybe the next time you go into Bed Bath & Beyond, you know in advance, okay, let me do XYZ to 100%. Make sure that doesn't happen again. Yeah.
I'm kind of like jumping ahead a little bit, but I feel like it's a good segue. This happens in Sound Bath. Not often, but I host a beginner's sound bath and I host every Wednesday as well. We do more of the consistent sound bath. So if you want to come back like week after week, we work on different techniques. So the beginners is really for people that don't really know about meditation, don't really have an experience, a sound bath, etc. When I start each of those classes, I always kind of give a warning to people that it's like, whatever you're feeling during a sound bath, whatever comes up, it's okay. If you start to feel that like anxious response that's happening, maybe you're feeling tearful. My first sound bath, I felt like I wanted to die laughing. Seriously, I was like so joyful. So I wanted to like crack up, but it wasn't the appropriate time, so I stifled it a little bit. It was just bizarre, but certain things like come up because what happens during the sound bath is it unlocks your body, it unlocks your nervous system, and it puts it into a place of safety. And once your body is in that place of safety, it starts to process all of the things that we have suppressed. So I had one woman come in for a sound bath a while back, and she was like, I'm never doing this again afterwards. She was really upset. I guess she had gone through like a car crash years and years and years ago, but she was like reliving the car crash, but clearly she had suppressed it and she didn't process those. And I was like, just so you know, like that's not going to happen every time.
Right.
This is a practice, and like clearly you needed to purge those things in order to start to feel safe again in your own body. So I feel like that was important to note just because we're on that like realm, and sometimes that happens, like, but we need to process those things. Our body needs to feel in order to heal. Yeah.
That's an amazing way to put it. And like we're saying, the awareness of it is being able to say, why is this happening to me? Why is this coming up? And being able to analyze. Yeah. And if you need to go to a therapist to do that, do that. Like that's perfectly fine. But try to note, and if you need something that I recommend also after a sound bath is like maybe like writing some notes in your phone of like what you processed, and then you can even look back at them after your next sound bath and do it. However, I have had many sound bath experiences where I'm just on cloud 9. I don't process anything. I'm just like in the happiest state of being, and like that's also good. That's the sound bath is it's such a like rainbow of things that can happen during it, but regardless of what happens, it's an amazing experience.
It's all good things. You benefited from like just sitting there for an hour and just taking time.
That was a point that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about like Bed Bath & Beyond earlier. Was
R.I.P. by the way. Where can we go for one of those now? Like it's gone.
There's probably like one. You know how they always keep like one, like they keep one Blockbuster open in the world, so you can like. I'm sure we can find that one store, Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh my god, I don't even know what I was saying.
Oh my god, sorry, I like fluffed it there. Okay, sound bath. Then we were talking about Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh yes.
Time.
Some people don't know how to just like be by themselves. Like I know so many people that any void of silence, they have to fill it. Like they can't just be peaceful, be alone. And I definitely have been there. I had to get over that. I had to be alone and
uncomfortable.
Do things by myself to get over that. But and it took a long time. But when you're happy with yourself and at peace and with being with yourself, like it's the best feeling ever when you're like, oh, I could be by myself for 5 days straight and like I would be fine. I would be able to function.
A beautiful thing. And like, you know, it's so important to just connect with the self. And again, that to me is that power in yourself. You are aligned, you feel good, you understand the movement in your body, you understand the flow of your mind, and that's where like the real magic happens. And I think it's a beautiful thing to like do stuff by yourself too. I think that's a challenge. I'm going to challenge like anybody that's really uncomfortable with doing that. Go get a coffee. Don't take it to go. Sit down, drink your coffee just by yourself.
And try not to be like on your phone. Just sit and like be present.
Just like watch, chill. See what's going on. Maybe there's some music. I really think that life will surprise you. Every time I do an exercise like this to kind of put myself out there and be in the present, something crazy happens. Not crazy like earth-shattering, but like music will start playing, or like a cute person will walk by, or like whatever, and instantly I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that I did this.
You're like I should pay attention more.
Definitely. So challenge for all of you, and I want to report back.
Report back with what cute people you see.
Yes, please send them my way.
No, it's true. Like be present and take that time. And if you don't like coffee, go to a library. Like you can do whatever, but you get the gist. But like that's a really good challenge because a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, and we're all about challenges this year.
2024, we're testing the limits.
Yes, we are. Reap those rewards, baby.
Yes. Alex told me the other day that is kind of what 2024 is about, as well as reaping the rewards of everything. And that's kind of what I talked about this past episode, but reaping the rewards of everything you worked so hard for in the past couple years. It's like the fruition of it all. Yeah. So this is also a good year to focus on what you can do to advance yourself. And I don't mean like go to the gym and eat healthy or whatever. That may be it for you, but focus on like what you need. What do you need? What are you lacking in your life? Like, do you need to connect with yourself more? Do you need to connect with others more? Like, try to analyze that.
Big time.
So kind of the whole holistic wellness universe right now it went from being something that people practiced on their own time. It wasn't as much of like business.
Yeah.
It's now bridging that gap where it's like becoming, the businesses are incorporating it. Even ones that even like your traditional doctor's office is starting to incorporate more holistic wellness activity, meditation, yoga,
Even
sound
Reiki.
bath, Reiki,
Like some doctors
tarot
are now
cards.
like being like, oh, you should go and do
Yes.
Reiki, which is just crazy. Yeah.
Yes, which I love. Acupuncture, like all of those things, they're all becoming way more widespread and known, which I love personally. But with that, we're seeing a lot of new businesses arise, like Bathhouse, that are kind of focusing on the holistic wellness aspect of it. Like we said earlier, Delaware is pretty behind, but there are some really great businesses that are incorporating it into theirs as well. What do you think about the huge uprise of all of these type of holistic wellness businesses? Do you think and what's your like prediction? What do you think will happen in the next like 5 years?
Sure. I think that we live in such a unique area. I would say majority is a little bit older generations. A lot of people are kind of stuck in their ways. But the uprise of holistic businesses has been so fun to see. Like the girls at Aloe Blow, which is like a head spa treatment. First of all, you can't get a head spa anywhere around here.
Really.
I don't even know if one in Philly exists.
don't either.
Like I haven't really done my due diligence, but it's such a cool experience to do. And again, you just can't get that anywhere else. Similar to, Restore, like I love what they do. They've got the cryo chamber,
the infrared.
They've got sauna, they do compression. It's all of these non-invasive, more tailored to the body and again, nervous system, like wellness in general. I do think that a lot of, I hate to say the word phony, but
I was hoping you would touch on this.
More kind of like money grabby type of thing, because it is a hot trend right now. Wellness is peak at the moment, which it's having a moment. Which is great.
She's having a moment.
Yeah, she is. And we're riding that wave, but you do have to be like, do your homework on like what specifically you're looking for. I'm huge on like word of mouth, like talking to people about their experiences, what they liked, what they didn't, how either like we could improve or like, the other business could improve. So I think that moving forward, we'll probably have more of this. I hope that we have more of this. But I think that right now, early adapters are kind of trying to like test the waters with at least the older generations. I think with the younger, with us and like below and even a little bit older than us, doesn't matter. Like we're sold. Like I think we all pretty much get it. But I think that with the older, it's just taking a little bit more time. Everybody's intimidated. Everybody's afraid. I do have a lot of people that are like, I'm afraid to come to Sound Bath. Which
so
blows my mind.
Yeah, so
like,
interesting.
Absolutely blows my mind. I'm like, why afraid?
Yeah, I had no hesitation.
Right. I'm like, all you do is lay here, but it's the scared of the unknown, right? I actually watched a TikTok on this the other day where the guy was like, you're scared because this is a new experience. And we don't, the older we get, we have less and less and less of those. And that really stuck with me. So I'm like, wow, yeah, like that is you've never done this before in your entire life. Like, of course that's going to be scary. Of course that's going to be intimidating. So I thought that was like interesting to know. Yeah.
Very interesting. And
but
very
don't
true.
be scared. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
We don't bite. Like, I think.
And you can reach out to her. Like if you have specific questions about what is the sound bath, what do I expect? Or what is Reiki? What is a tarot reading? Whatever, like ask whoever and try to educate yourself on it. Definitely. So that you don't feel as uncomfortable. And again, no push towards if you don't want to do any of this, like don't do it. Right. That's fine. But I do encourage people to try at least and see how it goes. Yeah. And I get being scared of the unknown. Like it is scary. I kind of like the unknown because that's part of me, but I do get it being scared. And like that is a good point about when you get older, you don't really experience that as much because you have wisdom, age, time under your belt. But in my opinion, what a better time to try something new when everything seems redundant. Why not try something new? Totally. All right, now let's talk a little bit about The nervous system. I know we could talk about this for a while. We don't need to do full breakdown, but let's just talk about first what is the nervous system. Let's just start there, and then we'll get. I'm like, let's just start there.
Definitely. So the nervous system is all about how we manage stress. So we have the parasympathetic nervous system and we have the sympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic, this is our rest phase. This is our calm down phase. This is where we feel safe, we feel nurtured, we feel loved. This is the phase of the nervous system that Bryn and I try to achieve when it comes to certain services like facials, like sound bath. We really want to try to align you where you're feeling comfortable and calm. This is also what happens when we get into the parasympathetic nerves, we calm down, we start to heal. Our body starts to heal itself. And unlocking that is also really interesting, and that can be like a whole nother topic. The sympathetic nervous system on the other side is when we're in fight or flight mode. We're anxious, we're stressed. Some people will actually go for a long period of time in the sympathetic nervous system, and that will lead to a lot of other like health issues. You start to think irrationally. You might like start to break out physically, like in hives or something. Everybody reacts to it in different ways, but part of the whole thing is trying to learn those things. By the way, they don't teach you this in school.
Nothing.
Which is kind of wild because this is your own body that we live and breathe every day. And it's just crazy to me that we don't even briefly go over that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like this is an opinion. This is scientific fact.
Yeah,
like
this isn't not opinion just woo-woo shit. I'm like spewing. Like this is, look it up. Like, there's
no,
plenty.
really.
Yeah,
it should be taught 100%. Yeah. We just happen to seek out the education, take courses, do our research, read articles constantly. Like that's just our own self-righteousness. But you like. A lot of people don't do this.
A lot of people don't do it. But we're here to tell you, so it's fine.
That's what we're here for.
So yeah, that is just a brief understanding of the nervous system. Something that we focus on a lot, and a big other like keyword here, hot term, is the vagus nerve. So you might see like advertisements that are like, tap into your vagus nerve, or, oh, unlock the power of your vagus nerve. Like, a lot of that stuff is like all marketing BS. That's not to say that there isn't a space for it. There is. Basically what the vagus nerve is it's this neural highway that goes from our brain stem all the way down to our base, and it touches almost every organ in our body, which is really cool.
If anyone's listening, I encourage you to look up a picture of it. It's super cool looking.
It is like a tree within ourself, I think. That's kind of the best way.
Yeah, exactly.
Roots, branches, and just a big stem, essentially. Really, really cool stuff. And one of them, a notable branch, runs from our heart center up to our face. And this is like our social engagement filter. So yeah, this is how we connect with the world around us, with social and all of those aspects. So it's interesting when you meet somebody that is very anxious, right? Or very stressed. You can, especially if you're close with this person, like you can just see them in the room and be like, oh, something's going on with them. Like I should probably check in. It's written all over your face sometimes. Some people have a stronger engagement system in that sense. Some people, they wear the heart on the sleeve. So it really depends. But the vagus nerve is something that we want to nurture. And I think I implore you to understand it better so you can manage your stress more. Not many of us really know how to manage stress. Even like my own partner, I'm going to use him as an example. You know, he gets really stressed with work sometimes. And it's like, you know, he has basketball some days, which is a great way to move the body, kind of clear the mind, get the blood flow. It's great for you. Awesome. But what else are you doing to like manage that stress? Especially in men. I feel like women will seek this out a little bit more because we might be slightly more in tune with ourselves. But with men, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a societal thing still where they're not sure. They're like, well, I'll just deal with it. It'll go away eventually.
I think it was because they were never, it was never
Yeah.
talked about with men. Like, think about everyone's dads.
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing that stuff.
They're tough.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
society has told them they have to be
Yeah.
like super tough or whatever. And then if they're too in tune with their emotions, they're too feminine and whatever. It's like really hard to border that line. I definitely agree with for men.
Absolutely.
Women too, but like I think men's a whole different category.
Yeah, for sure. But the more we know, the more you know about your own body and your nervous system, the more you can do with it. You'll understand your triggers more. You'll understand what situations you don't want to be in anymore. Like, this year to me is all about pushing away the things that don't feed me anymore, that don't bring me joy. I'm not doing it anymore for other people. I've had it. I'm just like, I feel like I've done my due diligence in that sense. Like, we're just not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to that party because I don't feel like going to that party. I'm not going to talk to you at the bar because I don't want to talk to you. Like, sorry, but like, that's just, we're not doing it anymore. It doesn't feed my soul. It doesn't nurture me. So we're moving on.
Yep. And I don't see any negatives of that. As long as you're not being like a bitch.
Oh yeah, of course.
Then like,
bitchy.
maybe a little bit. But it doesn't matter. Like, I'd rather someone stand in who they are and like, what bad do you get out of that? Let's just use the example of at a bar. Like, you don't talk to someone that is trying to engage with you. And I'm not saying like you turn your head and you're just like, I'm not talking to you. But like, one, for you, that's saving your energy for what you aren't trying to give out. And for that person, it's helping them not get led on in thinking that you're interested in them and wasting your time. And the longer you talk to them, the longer they're like, oh, it's working, it's working, it's working. Yeah. Like, why not? Both parties are better off if I'm just upfront and reserve my energy and I'm like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And that's standing in your confidence, standing on your own 2 feet and knowing yourself and being able to say, look, I'm just like not really interested right now.
Just not,
you know?
Yeah, like I got my own thing going on right now.
Yeah, but I appreciate it and thank you, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Both parties are better off that way.
Yeah, it's being more genuine, I think is the
yeah.
biggest thing. Because to me, it's more fake to continue having that conversation because society tells me that I have to be nice, especially as a woman. Like, you have to be nice. Like, no.
Yeah, I don't want to be.
That.
I don't wanna
Sorry.
be nice
like,
all the time.
No,
like,
I'm not doing that anymore. So I think it's much more genuine to be like, hey, this was cool, but I'm actually with some friends right now. So have a good night. But, you know, I'm doing my own thing. Same thing with like, you know, how often do you see people every day and you're like, oh, how are you? And it's like, I'm good. Are you really
good? Or are you just saying
like,
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, we don't even think about it. Neither do I. I'm like,
doing good.
I'm great. Thanks.
Yep.
Like, how are you?
Yep.
Like, immediately deflecting back to that person. But I also think in turn, we don't really care how the other person is doing. It's more just that social, like,
exactly.
Hey,
courteous.
I'm acknowledging you. Yeah, yada, yada. But I'm really trying to be more genuine when it comes to that stuff. Yeah.
And the more, just to loop it back to like the nervous system, the more you know and understand yourself and your body and your connection, the more you can help other people regulate that. So let's use the bar as another example. Let's say you're out at the bar and you see a girl that is visibly uncomfortable. Right. You can maybe step in and say, hey, like, maybe let's go to the bathroom, take some deep breaths together or whatever it is. Like, you're able to kind of pay it forward and help. That's what we do in our jobs, doing services, especially facials, is we're like trying to give knowledge and also give you tips on how you can regulate and give yourself an easier, better life, to be honest.
Yeah. If you catch me in the bar bathroom, I've done that exact thing so many times.
I'm sure.
Where girls are like hyperventilating. I'm like, let's breathe. Let me show you. And then we like do it. And they're like, wow, I feel better. I'm like, I know. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That's so true.
Yes. There's nothing like connecting with a drunk girl in the bathroom.
Oh my God. 10 out of 10 experience.
10 out of
I feel
10,
bad that men don't have that
thing.
Yeah, it's like sad.
Love you women out there. Love you.
Love you. So how about nervous system? I know we talked about how it's important in facials, but the importance of it in aesthetics in general, I think goes down to every service people do. And whether you're holistic, wellness-based business or whether you're all about superficial beauty or whatever, this is something that we do every day. We just don't know what to call it sometimes. But I definitely think there's a huge importance in aesthetics and understanding the nervous system and regulation. what is your tips or words of wisdom to any esthetician or spiritual practitioner, anyone that's in this industry? Like, what is your recommendation on how to jump in to even like learning about this stuff or open the door to that?
Definitely. I mean, a lot of my journey as well, even into like becoming a sound practitioner, again, like I said in the beginning of the episode, I wasn't here a few years ago. This is still sort of new to me. Not necessarily aesthetics, but more of the holistic side. I really owe a lot of that to the resources that I found. And I know that you have taken some of Bethany's courses as well. Two of my mentors, at least one of our shared mentors, Bethany and Amanda, they are two sisters based out in Texas. So during the pandemic, I found on Instagram this like really cool looking holistic course. We all know how like the targeted ads work, but it looked really cool. I was like, this doesn't look like it's fake. So I did more research into it. I ended up going onto the website. Bethany knocks it out of the park, I think, with her content. And like, she's
so
such
educated,
an awesome educator. And she is also so knowledgeable. So I owe a lot of my initial practice to them. And then after pandemic restrictions loosened, I ended up taking a chance, and I went to a holistic aesthetics retreat, which I did enjoy going to, but as a note, that's not necessary. Like, you don't have to do all of those extra certifications. A lot of those things are kind of money grabby. So be aware of that. Save your money. Just because you get that piece of paper at the end, a lot of the time, sorry to say, it's bullshit.
It's a piece of paper.
Like, it's just a piece of paper. Again, nobody knows better than you do. Yes, you absolutely have to like seek out those mentors, those teachers to gain certain knowledge about these things, but don't feel like you have to do all of these certifications, and especially all at once. So do your homework again, just like kind of figure out like, if this aligns for you. But find those resources. There are amazing accounts on Instagram that I follow. I'm happy to share it in like the show notes.
We can add it in
definitely
to the notes.
Because there are really cool holistic people out there, and you can get a lot of, not training, but you can get a lot of information and knowledge for free on there, even just by, I'm a visual learner. So if I see something, if I feel something being done, I can replicate it. Like, I can figure that out. Of course, it takes practice and time and skill, but you can pretty much get there. So a lot of that is finding the like right mentor for you. And it's just a general interest. Some people really like the medical side of stuff, and that's cool. There's a whole world of that available for you. I just didn't feel right with that side, and it felt more aligned with me with the holistic side. Yeah,
I agree. Courses are good, but like she's saying, be wary of gimmicky money grabs. There's some great books. Articles are big. I definitely recommend like checking the authenticity and reputability of an article. But a good place to start too is like a short, kind of like a short small book on like Chinese medicine or chakras, or like just start somewhere, and then it'll kind of piggyback into other things. And like she's saying, you have to be actually interested in it. So if you're reading it and you're like, this is stupid and I'm not interested, then find something else. Yeah, exactly. But I agree. Those are good tips.
My last little tidbit also is going and experiencing these things. If you have a really good experience somewhere, why? Why did you have a good experience there? What did you like about it? What did you like about how it made you feel? That was also a big thing for me too, because I kept getting service after service after service that was just like mediocre. And finally, I feel like I had a couple services. One, when I was right before the pandemic, I took a huge family vacation in Mexico, and they had like a crazy spa. They had saunas, they had rooms, like all the theme stuff. It was the most insane spa I'd ever been to. They had a whole men's section and women's section of just like pools. It was nuts.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we each got services, and like in the service, she's like whispering in one ear, and then she like goes to my other ear, and like that sounds weird as I'm explaining it, but it was awesome. And then
like
they
spatial
had,
audio.
yeah, like spatial stuff. And she's like whispering, and it's like so nice. And then they had this like their own version of a rain stick, but it was like a free fall rain stick. So there's like sounds coming in, and I was like, what the heck is going on?
Like, this is on another level.
This is cool. Like,
Yeah.
and in the US, like I hadn't gotten that, but I also wasn't really sure what to look for. So
Right.
just sliding that in, that like, if you see a service that you're like, huh, that looks cool, try it. Or not, doesn't have to be a service, but a class, like same thing. Like they have a float class up in Philly, which wasn't my cup of tea, but glad I got to go.
Yeah.
Try it. Just try everything. It's all about the experience.
I agree.
always come back to.
That's a good.
The devil's in the details, and so am I.
I love it. I love it. So great tips for getting into it. How about tips? First, let's talk really quickly about just like what we do during facials, some things we do to help regulate the nervous system.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk really quick, some tips for at home, just short, just little things that they can do.
Right off the bat, at least at Bathhouse, we are by appointment only. You cannot just walk in there. We do that for a couple different reasons, mostly because I want everybody to feel like they have their own private space. And that is a lot of the time what people need in order to feel comfortable. Second, I always have some tea ready for them, kind of calms them down. Even if they don't drink it, it's a nice gesture of here's a warm cup of something. I normally intuitively pull the tea, but sometimes I ask, just depends. From there, I give them a run through. I'm an over-explainer, but I feel like it's important.
It's necessary.
It is, because again, a lot of people can be intimidated. They're not really sure. They've read about the facial or whatever, but they haven't experienced it. So they're still a little nervous. Plus you're kind of like chest naked. Not that I'm like looking at your boobs. You're covered, of course, but it's still
it's vulnerable.
Yeah. It's an intimate position. Same thing with like waxing, like Brazilian and bikini waxing, same thing. The lights are always dimmed, so you have that calm atmosphere. I normally have some fire like out with candles. I don't do too many smells just because sometimes that can get a little weird with people. Some people are very sensitive with that. And during the service, I do a lot of this movement on either side of your head so you hear where I am. I will give your body noticeable signs that I am either about to touch you or like, and this is while we're like during. I always ask if you're like ready for your service, if you're ready to begin. Normally I kind of start with the head massage. That really like disengages people a lot. It's those little tells to make sure that you know where I am, especially when people are a little nervous around human touch. So my intake form, that's another like huge thing. I put how comfortable are you with human touch? So I know if they put a 5 and they're very comfortable, great. Maybe I won't do as many of those movements because they know kind of what they're in for and they're ready. But somebody that puts a 1, that they're very uncomfortable, I'm very slow. I'm very methodical with how we go about touching you. So the intake form, I think, is another big one. Because I also ask like if there's areas that you don't want to be touched. Some of my clients don't want to be touched on the head. That's cool. We avoid that completely. So
and what may make sense to you, the reason that it's important to do that, you might think to yourself, wow, who wouldn't want a scalp massage? Everyone has different life experiences, traumas, things like that. So it is really important, any estheticians listening, getting some of those questions that may be harder to verbally ask, getting them out of the way on the intake form is a great way to do it and to get a gauge of what they're looking for out of the experience.
My intake form is like 4 pages long.
But good. Like I would rather it be that.
And that's like my secret weapon. I like to have people fill it out even before they come in because I like to know what's going on so I can be prepared instead of rushing through it when they get in there and then me trying to like rush read it and then like go into the service. I'm a little discombobulated. So I like to have that all done and I like just an easy flow of service.
Yeah, I like that you do that too. It gives you time to like analyze it.
Yeah.
Another thing during facials that I like to do to help the nervous system is aromatherapy, breathing. And I always, again, make sure that they like the smell before I do that. But every single facial I do, I start off with cupping aromatherapy over the nose and mouth, letting them take deep breaths. Some people, I very much tell them, I will do them with you. You take as many as you need. Just say the word okay when you're done and like let them take it. I will say some people take like 2 and they're like, okay, I'm good. Some people do it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it just depends on their comfortability with it. But that's not only aromatherapy, just the smells, the essential oils bring out different things in your body, but also the deep breathing aspect of it is so good for helping the nervous system. And I've had so much feedback from people that have gotten just their traditional European facials in the past. And they're like, wow, I love that you do that, because we don't like talk about like taking deep breaths enough. And as simple as it may seem to someone listening, like, it's a big deal to a lot of people.
Absolutely. And that really puts you in the present moment, which is what the goal is.
Yeah. And we talked about this the other day. Like, another thing is just physical touch in general. It's really sad to hear a lot of the feedback from people is, this is the first time I've been touched in so long, or this is the first like physical touch that I've had in years, or whatever. And that's like heartbreaking to me. But I'm so happy that we can be that safe space for those women, men, whatever, that we can allow that to be like a safe space for them to regulate and get treated, get pampered, and feel good about themselves.
Safe touch is huge.
Yeah.
In our realm, and also in your relationships too. Like, safe, loving, caring touch, even like hugs. Hugs are great for your nervous system. Holding that hug for more than like 5 seconds. And I feel it. Like, when especially when I like hug my